for it, yeah. We're here for it, yeah. We're here for it, yeah. We're here for it, yeah.
Hey everyone, thank you guys so much for coming back to the SheHH podcast and watching this interview. So I love it when I get to chat to Canadian artists because it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, the conversation is always great. And we have another amazing woman on the SheHH podcast who is from Canada. And we have the one and only Elenee. Woo!
Yay!
Thanks for coming along to the episode today. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience who are listening and watching?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, I am Canadian and born and raised in the same city. Like, I really don't get out much, I guess. I'm smack dab in the middle of Canada, really not very coastal, which is sad, but prairie girl. I am a singer, songwriter, producer, artist, and I am also like a restaurateur and a wife and mom and yeah, all the things.
I love that. We'll definitely touch on some of the hats that you wear in this interview, because one thing about a Christian female artist, she's going to be wearing multiple hats. She's going to be juggling it all and looking fabulous while doing it as well, by the way. If you had to pitch your sound, so your style, your genre, the way that you sound in the music to someone in 20 seconds, what would you say?
Warm, gospel influence, but with its own unique flair of jazz and like 70s, 80s pop influences.
That was good. I feel like you still have like 10 seconds to go and you're just like,
oh no.
It's fine. That was really good. That was. And I definitely hear the like contemporary gospel, like jazz influences in a lot of your music, especially the most recent album, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I just love that you are ready with, this is who I am. I know who I am and I know why you need to listen to me. I love that confidence. That's what we're going for. I would love to talk about how you developed your voice and your songwriting ability.
Well, there are two very different things. I think first and foremost, I have always been a stronger songwriter than I am a singer. I've been writing, whether it's poems or short stories or whatever, in any really type of situation. I've just been writing ever since I was really little, like as early as I could write. I went to a French immersion school and I remember having one English class every day. I think we started in like grade 5 or something like that. And my English teacher would let me read the short stories that I would write like to the class. And they were always so dumb and crazy and like I don't know, they were just these scenarios that I just made up and imagined in my head. And because I had grown up at a restaurant, and that's a whole nother question for another time, but I spent a lot of time pretty much just entertaining myself. My sister and I would spend a lot of time just like in the office or in the back playing with pizza boxes and playing on the computer. And so I had developed this interest in writing, and I felt like Microsoft Word 97 was really where it all started for me in the back office of my family's restaurant. And so I would type out these stories, Adventures with Elenee, they were called. I would include my classmates. I would make up these scenarios and then I'd read them to the class. And that's where I feel like it was kind of the first time that a teacher or someone influential in my life was like, you're a strong writer. Like, we'd love for you to share your story. When I was 9, I had a poem published in a book, like across Canada, which was really cool. And yeah, like it's just been, writing has been basically who I am, who I started to be, I guess, from the time I was young. Singing, I've always loved singing. Like, singing has always just been this like escape for me. I sing all the time. In fact, my thoughts, I feel like even like as a small girl, have always been in song, and I would memorize things with songs, and I would like syncopate everything, 6 times 6 is 36,
Nice.
Like everything was always just musical in my head. I definitely had ADHD as a young child, so I feel like that has something to do with it. I'm medicated now, which is why I'm able to be on this interview and stay in one lane. Just kidding. We'll see how that actually is working out. But yeah,
No, we love the tangents. We want to go left,
good,
right,
good.
center, up, down, maybe go backwards, upside down. Yeah, let's
I
mix it
love
up.
it. Well, buckle up, everybody. Yeah, and so I have just always been a singer, not a necessarily a good one. I've just always sang. And I remember listening to the Bee Gees and ABBA as a young girl. Like my mom really blasted the 70s and 80s in our car, and it was just like those were the voices that really shaped my sound today, which is weird to say, but lots of Queen, lots of basically Michael Jackson, all the 90s and 80s and 70s, Whitney, so much Whitney. And then as I started to pick up my own music, it was like Christina Aguilera, JoJo, Britney Spears, like all these like women, female powerhouses. And I was like Amy Winehouse. And then it got me into sort of the jazz element of things. And it was just like the more I listened to people, the more I could sort of tailor my voice to sound a little bit more like jazz or a little more like a warm, whatever, a little bit more like this. And so over the years, my voice has just had this ability to shapeshift. And it wasn't until I started writing and putting out my own music that I was like, I really need to figure out like what I sound like, which is crazy. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. And it shouldn't be that hard to find it out. But it's been years of me just like stripping back the layers and being like, what is my organic, authentic sound that comes out of my mouth when I make a noise, without the influences that I've just always known. And so I've been really working hard just the last few years in developing my voice. And it's definitely different now than the music I was putting out in like 2014 or 15, which you can't find it now. Praise God.
I was going to say, I don't have that. I have 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. And so anyways, it's just, to answer that question, I don't even know if I did answer those questions, but basically I've worked really hard at making my voice better and I'm still working on it. Like I'm not where I want to be, but it's just always evolving. Songwriting, I've just always been a songwriter. So it's like, I don't know, I just always get better every time I write. And I write a lot of bad songs and it's okay. And it's fun.
No, I love that. And I love that you had people like your teacher see that gift of like writing and putting story to words as a like blessing and giving you an opportunity to kind of share that. Because I think, around the age that you're doing that, that could be like something that's discarded by adults, not even like to be malicious, just because like they're busy or they've got other priorities, but you have like a teacher kind of see that in you and kind of not realize they're prompting the whole songwriting career to come. But even when you were writing the music and you had the music playing in your head, I love the idea of a soundtrack to your life. Amazing. Did you have in your mind the intention of, I actually want to be a singer, like I want people to be able to buy my music and be able to be like Whitney Houston or be like these people that we bump in the car, like I could be that person?
Man, it's always been my dream. Like I'm not even, some people are just so humble. They're like, no, it just happened. Like one day people were like, oh, your music's amazing. No, I wanted this. I wanted to put out music. Like, I don't know what y'all have over in the UK, but where I live, we had the Family Channel or like Disney Channel, and we had people like Hannah Montana and I don't know, Zoe 101. We had all these like, I don't know, High School Musical, all these shows that I would watch where there was like this element of like a child star or, someone that's like my age or a little older and so cool and so like relatable. Ariana Grande, what was it? She was on like Victorious. Was she on
Victorious? Yep.
Yes. Like we all wanted to be like a triple threat, we could sing, we could dance, we could act. That was it. I like put in a resume or like a portfolio for myself. I sent it into LA when I was 12. Like again, me and Microsoft 97 in the back office of my grandparents' restaurant. We're just like making portfolios for acting. And like, I remember attaching like my grade 5 or something school picture to be like, let me know what you think. And like, it was just, those were the things that were in my heart. And even though they maybe didn't have like the greatest outcome, like it was just like, I just want to be famous. I just want to, be like these people that are so cool and popular and doing all the things. I think that there's always been this desire, like a godly desire in me to just be like a creative and helping people put the soundtrack to their lives, whether it was exciting and happy, or whether it was like, I just need a warm hug and someone to tell me it's going to be okay, or that I'm right there with you in this season. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And so I feel like I had that from so many artists growing up, and I just wanted to do that for other people, whether it's, you know, like me wanting to be famous, or if it's just me wanting to just put music out so people can listen, you know?
I really love that God used what was already like a desire in your heart for good, essentially, or for like to drive you in that way. Because if you hadn't had that passion so young, or if you hadn't cared really about
Yeah.
music or the idea of actually pursuing like music as a thing, do you think you would even push yourself that hard to like actually reach where you are? Like, you might get there or you might not get there, but you might be super indifferent because you never had that desire since childhood. But because you did, you always
Yeah.
did it with excellence, because you knew this is what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I think regardless of, I guess, how it plays out in my drive, like I'm a driven person anyways, whether it's like my business or my music or parenting, or, you know, like I'm just a really like go-getter type of person, for better or worse. I'm not saying it's like, it's not a brag, really. It's annoying. Like, Elenee, take a day off, you know, but I can't. Um, I, I've been reading a lot lately, in First and Second Kings and the Chronicles of the Kings. And there's this pattern that happens every time a king would come into power, whether in Israel or in Judah. He would either tear down the high places, or he would, you know, put up the high places. And that was the indicator of whether or not that king was pleasing God or not serving God, and, you know, grieving his heart. And so I think in the realm of like the working and the striving, it's just like the high places in my heart, like that I've wanted so badly to be famous. You know, I've wanted so badly to be rich and whatever, do all the things that all these like child stars are doing. That is like innately in my DNA, because that's just what I've always wanted. You know, as a young kid, all the way to today, like it's in there. And I feel like I have to intentionally tear that high place down. Like I have to be like, Lord, I know that the desire to please you is stronger than the desire to please the world, but sometimes it feels like the world side is winning, you know? So putting that on the altar every single day, like on days when I'm not focusing on music, or on days when I am, it's just like, okay, I have to set aside those altars. Not only that, I have to tear them down. I can't use them as like a secondhand altar, because God will not accept that. He wants a sacrifice that is holy and acceptable to him. And that starts with us, and myself more specifically, just being like, there's a reason that you put this drive in me, and I'm not going to use it to serve the world today. So I don't know, maybe that's like a roundabout way to answer it, but I just feel like whether or not it's a drive thing, I think it's like a flesh or a human nature thing that I have to work out with myself every single day. It's like, at what point will I be content? Like what level of fame or whatever, what level of stage, what amount of money is ever going to please me if that altar is still for self? But when it's to God, and when I'm making music for ministry and for people, and when my drive and my main goal is just to please the Lord, like none of that even matters. He'll provide a way for the music to get out there, which he always has. And it's just going to be about the stories and the relationships with people and pointing them to Christ, never about me. So yeah, that was a roundabout way to answer that.
No, that was such a good thing. Do you know what? The funniest thing about what you just said is, well, not necessarily funny, very much God ordained, but I had Bible study yesterday at with my life group at church, and we were studying Second Kings. We just did Manasseh, who was the son of Hezekiah, and he was a bad king. Well, I think he had like a turn to Jesus moment towards the end, but like
right. They always do.
I mean, they best do. But it's so funny that that's come up again, because I think it is really emphasizing what you're saying about the intentionality of a heart. Whenever they would put up a high place and it didn't please the Lord, and that king was going to go the wrong way, it was
Mhm.
because the things of the world had enticed them towards that. It was
Yeah.
because they thought, okay, these gods that I can create, these idols that I can create, or the power that I can get from an alliance with another nation that the Lord has said
Right.
stay away from, is more
Yes.
enticing than the truth of who God was. Especially
Yeah.
what confused me was you had a king like Hezekiah who served the Lord
Mhm.
diligently, really, really well. And then the next generation was his son, who was
Mhm.
really young when he came to power. I think he was like 12 or something, which
Mm.
meant that it was right at the end of Hezekiah's life that even had this child, because the child was so young.
Right.
How did he miss? He must have not told this child at age 7 or whatever, like, you know, these are the things that God has done for his people. We serve Yahweh, and this is why we do. And he must have just thought, oh, he's a child. Suddenly he's
Mhm.
in power at 12 and he's gone completely left because
Yes.
he chose the things of the world, because the people around him were not like his father Hezekiah. They thought that the gods of the land or the
Yes.
people of the land could give them something that God couldn't. And that's essentially the human condition. And we really believe the lie that
Mhm.
anything else will give us something that God can't. And so it's so funny to me as well, because even listening to one of the songs on your album, it touches on this.
Mhm.
And it all feels so related. And so it is really encouraging, even though it's probably really hard for you, it's really encouraging to hear you say, like, it's a daily thing that you choose to do. Like, it's a daily thing you choose to sacrifice that kind of innate desire. But it's also really honest, because I think we pretend that we're really good people.
I think it was Solomon's son. I want to say it was Solomon's son who came into power, and he sought counsel with the elders who had served with his father, and they like basically said, you need to let the people, like, you know, your father was a hard man, he did these things, you need to kind of go easy on the people, and that will gain their trust towards you, and that will basically make your ministry effective. Let's call it that, your kingship effective. And he was like, oh, I like that answer, but I think my friends could give me a better answer. So he goes to his friends, you know, who are his age and they're like the same kind of mentality, and they say, oh no, you go to the people and you say, you think my father was a hard man? I'm going to double hard. I'm going to just double down on the discipline, on, you know, on everything. And you're going to just, because I rule you and you fear me. And so he ended up doing that. And that's pretty much when we see like the decline in the kings that served the Lord. It was just like, it really started with it. Well, we know when it really started, back with David, but it really was a thing that was just like, you know, when you're seeking counsel from people who are just an echo chamber of that same, you know, human existence problem that we have, you're going to have people telling you to do this, spend this kind of money, forsake your family, you know, go against your, you know, moral compass and do this and wear this and put out songs like this to kind of like ride the line of, and all of that seems really great when the outcome is fame and money and, you know, acceptance within this community that you want to be a part of. But what are you giving up? You're giving up a whole line of basically people and opportunities to minister that you were put in a position to hold and to minister to from the Lord. And how does that affect you when you're giving up your family, all the things, you know? So I just think in all of this, a person like myself and like you and who are doing like this creative thing, it requires us to also be seeking counsel from people that are full of wisdom, full of the Holy Spirit, full of, you know, just this honest, like, tell it how it is kind of spirit from the Lord, because that's how he rolls. Like, the Lord doesn't sugarcoat stuff. Praise God for that. And that will honestly like have such a big effect on the decisions that you make as an artist, as a creative. Pretty much that will make or break the rest of your career.
Yeah, or at least where it's serving, because you might suddenly
Yeah.
succeed, but
What
succeed.
what is your generational worth look like after that? So you become king, you succeed, but then what happens to your children? What happens to the people that you know, what kind of message are you putting in the minds and the hearts of the people that like your music that are following Christ? What are you telling them? You know, I say my children because I have children. So for me, that's like a huge thing. But for those who don't have children that are putting out music, like you have ears that are listening, that are relying on your music to bring them an encouraging word from the Lord. And when they're tuned to that and you're giving them something not that, then they're listening still. And they're going to apply that to their lives. I'm just saying, music is very powerful, people.
It's very powerful. Honestly, I know this is a very left tangent we've gone on, but
Rough.
even staying on this point before I go back to my questions, I'm just reminded of when the word talks about being able to, like, the Lord's able to raise stones to
Yes.
serve him and to worship him.
Yes.
And how that always felt such a, like, pun intended, but like a heavy thing in the
Yeah.
sense, like, I don't want to not do what I'm called to do, and God has to raise literal stones to replace me. Like,
Yeah.
he's given me this gift. He's given me this drive, this desire. He's given me this path in my life. He's given me the people around me, you know, your family, like, and then I've decided, I'm going to do my own thing. And he's like, cool, bet. I will find a replacement. And I'm just like, God, like, I don't want to be alive and you need to find another witness.
Right. Right. That's so good. That's so good.
So I am just really encouraged by the fact that there are still artists like you that take it seriously, that you've been called into the space. And that's one of the reasons why I love the fact that your music is very much Christian, you know. It's great. It sounds good. It's like vibey, but it's Christian music. Like, I'm listening to the word of the Lord. It's not just the vibe, and it's not just fun, and it's not just enjoyable, and I can play it in the car. It's Christian music. And I think I'm a huge fan of Christian music. And I think we do need people that proclaim Jesus, and that's what you do in your music. And I just want to thank you for that. I just really do.
That's amazing. There needs to be more of it. I will say, like, I'm working on music right now that it is Christian music. It's a little different than what I put out. And I went back and forth about it because these songs have been like in my heart / in my note and voice memos for a long time. But it's like the honesty where people are like, oh my gosh, her and I are the same. Like, I've felt this way. I've always struggled with this. And she's like giving me a hug right now. Like, that is the feeling that I miss from artists. Like, I just don't, some of the music is good and wholesome and real and authentic, but there's so much out there that is like formula. What's the word? It's like very formula driven. It's very like, it has to meet a certain criteria for radio. It has to, you know, be this long, and it has to not have these words or have these words. And it's just like, man, bring back the A-B choruses of just worship. Do you remember those? Like, bring back the songs that are like laments. Bring back the music that brings you to this place where your questions with the Lord are so clear. You know how you get in those moments where you're like, God, I don't even know what to say right now. I have had moments from artists and songs where I'm just like, that's exactly what I have to say. Like, thank you, Lord. I have so much to say right now. I have questions, and here's what they are. And I'll just sing that song to the Lord. And it's just like, he meets me. But where are those songs? Where are those artists? What have they moved on? Are they doing mainstream? Are they trying to fit the criteria? I don't know. But it just feels like it's become so commercialized. And I miss the real deal stuff. I don't know. It's there.
Makes sense.
It's few and far in between, I feel like.
Yeah, and I also think what you just touched on at the end, where you said about the commercialization of it, I think people are trying to make a living out of music now, especially. And so if you are making the heartfelt, really honest, really vulnerable music, nobody's playing that at their birthday party.
I know. But I mean, I've got to give it up for Forrest Frank. Speaking of like birthday party music, because he pretty much is birthday party music. But there are some songs like on his new album that he put out, like in between the bangers, that are like, man, this is so real and so honest. And like, where did that come from? Like, he didn't release them as singles because he knew that they wouldn't have commercial viability in the sense, but it's like, they're still there. They just have to be sandwiched between to commercially viable songs, you know?
Well, I'm interested in
good.
hearing what on your self-titled album are those songs for you. But I guess you're saying you have more of them to come. But
Yeah.
we will get to the music. We've gone
Oh my
left,
God,
right,
sorry.
up and down, but we're still on our way. I just wanted to touch on a bit your cultural heritage. So you speak about in your bios and your press kits about how your cultural heritage actually really enriched your like voice and your music and like who you are, obviously, because it was really distinct to you. So I'd love for you to talk about how that inspired you, how your diverse background is something that you really love to celebrate.
Well, so half of me is Greek, and I feel like you can't mess around with Greek. I mean, it's its own thing. It's like thousands of years old or whatever. I don't know how old Greek culture is, but we've been around for a long time. The other side of me is the one I think that brings like maybe okay, the Greek side is like the rich and you know, I don't know. Let's just call it the rich side, not money. You know what I'm saying? Like full and whatever. It has history. The other side of me has history, but not in a great way. Like I come from a line of people who were abused and put into a really horrible system called residential schools. And so I'm Métis, so that's Indigenous and French. So a long time ago, AKA not that long ago, like within the last 100 years, people would scoop up these Indigenous children or Métis children, and they would take them from their parents. They would literally take them, and it was the Catholic Church is the ones that actually facilitated this. They would take them from their parents and send them to a residential school, meaning a school where they would live, and they would strip those children of their culture, of their language, and of their heritage. And that was all because the Catholic Church basically didn't agree with, you know, the cultural things that they believed in. So, you know, the cultural things about their faith, like in spirits and having, you know, all the things. I'm trying not to go into Pocahontas. Has a spirit, has a name, you know. You know what I'm saying? So that seemed like it wouldn't have been, you know, I mean, it was a big deal, but it in theory, maybe it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but it was when they got to the residential schools that the children would be starved, they would be beaten, they would be killed. And so they're finding, like, as we speak, mass graves of like tiny children's bones, like all over Canada. And basically they're linking all of these back to residential schools. And the last residential school closed in 1990 or 1992. So yeah, I'm not like, this is real and very, very recent for Canada. So Canada's history has been like really under the microscope because we're trying to figure out like, what do we do? And so this is my culture, my heritage. Like my grandfather was Métis. And as a result, there is a level of generational trauma that gets passed on. So my grandfather, I mean, I loved him. He was amazing. He was very musical. Like he played his 12-string guitar and yodeled. So there's that. My grandmother played the accordion. It's the whole vibe. My dad actually passed away in 2020 from alcohol addiction. So he passed away from cirrhosis of the liver. He was an alcoholic like my whole life. And his brothers and sisters also kind of suffer from the same like generational turmoil. My cousins deal with a lot of like really difficult mental health stuff. And it's just such a generational thing. And so my desire to create ever since I was very, very young, you know, we've established like I've been singing and writing since I was very little. I feel like it's been purposefully put in me as a way to heal, you know, heal myself. Because as a result of my dad being an alcoholic, he wasn't like a super great person. I mean, he had good things about him, but he was abusive and he, you know, he was manipulative and emotionally manipulative. My family turned into like codependence and we struggle with all the things. Like my dad was in rehab. We all went to rehab to do like the family counseling and therapy. Like it was a whole thing. And this weighs really heavy on a person when they've like grown up that way. That's all they know. But then they want to change. It's like, how does one even start? Well, the way that I've really only known in terms of changing has just been like through music. And so the cultural makeup of who I am is actually rooted a lot in healing generational trauma. And so when I say or write or whatever in my bios and my press kits, that it's like that it's so important to me. It's because I want people to know that with every word that I sing or write or every note that I produce, there is an element of healing that's taking place for me. And I pray and hope that that gets translated through the music and people feel that. Like, that's the goal. Whether you have had generational trauma or you're like amazing and grew up with a really great family, have nothing to worry about, which is like rare these days. I just want people to feel healed when they listen to my music, not by me, not by the things that I offer, but it's like because there's God-given things in every word I'm putting out. There's the spirit is in it all. And I want people to know that. And so that's why I make a note about my heritage and kind of have the opportunity to go into it here, because it's like, it is everything. It's why I do it. And without even really trying.
Yeah, it shows a resilience that's innate, because it's essentially a miracle that there is still a people in your lineage, if you think about it, because there was such an intentionality to eradicate it. Like there was such an intentionality to like whitewash and remove a whole indigenous group. And so like that's it's a miracle that like you still stand and that you also boldly proclaim it. And it's actually quite interesting because there's been so many similarities like in this conversation. Like it's such a God thing, but I'm Igbo, which is a indigenous group from Nigeria. Obviously I'm a Brit, but and I grew up in the UK, born and raised, but my actual heritage is Igbo, which is southeastern Nigeria. And a similar thing happened in Nigeria. There was a civil war, which was called a civil war, but there's colonial influences, and it was basically one of the intentions was to eradicate the Igbo people, and there was a real intentional effort to do that. And so one of the reasons why, like my husband isn't Igbo, but one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about me being Igbo and then our future children having an understanding of being Igbo is there were so many people that were killed. There were so many people that were, sorry, trigger warning. There were so many people that were just like not able to be here. And it's like a miracle that, and it's God ordained that he planned for my parents to migrate to the UK and for me to be born here and raised here and for me to be a Brit and for me to be able to have children here who will never, ever suffer anything like that, probably ever. And this, like you said, we always talk about ancient history, but this was 80 years ago. This was like very recent, that like there are generations that are alive that remember it, that were children when people were going to war, and I think these stories, they are very traumatic. Like sometimes my parents actually didn't talk about it for a very long time because a lot of Igbo people actually like wipe the memory because it's quite a traumatic time. Like everyone knows someone who like passed away or knows a man especially that went to war. And like my dad has his own trauma related to it. And sometimes they sit down and talk to us about it. Whenever they do, I let them speak because they rarely ever do speak about it. But I always just see God in the fact that I have two parents, and they made it. They're here. My grandparents made it, And so I'm just very encouraged when I hear people actually acknowledge like quite traumatic things that happen to them, that they've been able to be a part of the healing for the next generation. Like your children will not have to like ever picture the fact that this was happening to people because they had the same genetic makeup or whatever, but it's still something that they can still thank God that they're here from, if that makes sense. It's still part of who they are, they've got that part from you, so yeah, I'm again, I didn't know that was coming. I actually, when I saw it, I didn't know what. I have never heard of that ethnic group. So I was like, oh, okay, that's going to be interesting. Let's hear about that. But when you did mention it, I've watched a TV show. It's a really random TV show called Elenee, which is set in Canada. And they touch a storyline on residential schools. And that was the only reference I had to it. But it was so like, I can't believe this is real. I thought they had like made it for the show. And I was like, oh, that's a weird take. But okay, let's go with that. I didn't realize it was like, hey, this happened in history.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's just like you said, such a miracle. It's so cool.
Yeah. I don't
Tragic.
know how we got here really, but I'm
Sorry.
loving it.
I'm the problem. Hi.
You're the solution. You're the solution. But we will go on to music now. Let's go straight to the most recent album dropped last month as time of filming. A huge congratulations on your first debut self-titled album.
Thank you. Yay.
That is a celebration. That's a huge milestone for any artist because, you know, it's singles are the way. We're a singles heavy like music industry, but putting out a project is such a labor of love. So I do want to encourage you and say well done on that. How did you know it was the time to get some songs together?
You know, I'm probably not going to answer this in like this really inspirational way. It's just going to be honest and real. We're keeping it real today. But I had all of these songs, like I had released, I had written and recorded. There were 6 songs, and then one song we had 2 versions of. So Trust Fall has the radio or whatever, and the hallowed version. And then I wrote another one, like out of nowhere, and that's a whole thing for another time, called Listen. And I wrote it like, I don't even know, last Christmas time-ish. And I was like folding laundry and then had like Isaiah running through my head. And then I was like, oh my gosh. Then I posted it on Instagram, like a little snippet of it. And people were like, OMG. So then because it had its own little like viral moment on the internet, I was like, I'm going to put it with these other songs. Then I was like, what am I doing with these other songs? I was like, I should make an album. And the reason that I did that, and again, this is like where it gets really not spiritual, but in Canada, we have something called the Juno Awards, and it's like basically the Grammys, but in Canada, and they have a deadline for release and like just to qualify for the category. And the other thing is like, I've never qualified for a Juno because I've only ever released singles and it's only for albums. So I basically was like, okay, I need to get this out before November 1st, basically. But there were so many things that happened, like hiccups in the road. Like I decided back in, I think March or April of 2024 that I was like going to put out an album, or no, it was a little bit before that, February. Because then I did a Kickstarter to finish like post-production for everything, which was so cool. And I got overfunded. Like that was just a totally amazing God thing. Like my community is just amazing. So we got it. Everything was like good. And then it just took so long. Like every step of the way took so long. And then in order for me to release a song or an album, like I have to submit it for distribution 6 weeks before. So like, even though the album was supposed to drop it was supposed to drop in August, I didn't even have the masters until September. Like it was a whole thing. So I finally got everything. And I think we submitted it like, I don't know, middle or beginning of September. And, I was already so frustrated, which is like funny. Like I didn't want anything to do with these songs. I didn't want anything to do with like this album. I was just angry, like at the fact that nothing was working the way I wanted it to. And I was like, God, what does this mean? Is this resistance, you telling me that this isn't something that you want or not? Like, I don't know. And sometimes I have clarity on that. Like if there are doors closing, very obviously, like I'm just like, this is not a God thing. Like we're going to pull power back off. When things like really open up, I have to evaluate, like, is this the Lord wanting me to do this? Or is this like, what does this look like? Because I don't like to walk through every door that opens just because like, I assume the Lord opened it. Like that's not always a thing, you know? So this was just this weird thing where I was like, I don't understand this resistance. Like, why does everybody hate me? Why is everybody taking so long to get me things? Why? Anyways, we finally got it and submitted it. And to be totally honest, again, like just being straight up on this podcast, because that's the theme for today. Like, I don't think it did that well. Let me say this, not because I don't think the album like is doing good. It's just that like it did not meet any metrics that I was hoping for. So like it didn't get playlisted on New Music Friday or anything. It didn't get any DSP love. It didn't really like move anywhere. Like I released it and I was like, oh my gosh, I have just made a grave mistake. Like I should have waited. And so I wrestled with that like back and forth, because then I had it in time for the Juno submission, and then I submitted my Juno thing to see if I even get nominated. And I'm just like, I don't know if this was a good idea or not. So you say like, congratulations, like this is a labor of love. Yes, it's such a labor of love. It's also, I feel like just a labor. Like, there were times when I hated it. It was a labor of hate. But we got it out, and I'm really happy that the songs are now available, like, for people to listen to, because I've been sitting on, like, specifically the song Trust Fall. I've been sitting on that one for a long time, and like I've wanted people to grab onto it and love it the way that it's like helped me through seasons. Literally, I've been sitting on the song for seasons, several.
Mhm.
So I'm just like putting the album's metrics, if you will, like in the hands of God. And I'm just like, I don't actually care if it like takes off or if it doesn't. I think the thing that I always want in a song is like if I can make some of the financial investment back to make more music. Like, you know what I mean? And when it doesn't get playlisted and it doesn't really get that much recognition, or it doesn't go any further than like my catalog on Spotify, then it doesn't get me any streams, and therefore 0.0064 cents per stream. And
Yeah.
so I'm just being honest with you guys, but I'm happy that it's out. I feel like the new year is when I'll really see the effects of the release and see like how people are really responding to it. Because right now it's like Christmas season. People are putting out Christmas songs. So
Yeah.
and I don't know. I'm just leaving it in the hands of the Lord.
I am so grateful that you were so honest, because I think people like to lie. I think people like to lie, and I understand it as well, because you don't owe anyone like your deepest
Mhm.
like feelings. But I also do think authenticity is such an important thing.
Mhm.
I love that you're being honest about how you find it. I also do think it's not been out for a full month yet.
I know.
Still loads of time. Like
I know.
I remember it dropping, because we obviously keep up to date with like music and stuff. So I remember it dropping. But so when I was putting the questions together, I thought it was like brand new. I thought it had just like, it was like last weekend or something. I was like, oh yeah, that new song. This is perfect timing. So there is still like a way to go for sure. But on top of that, I think you've been really smart. And this is a question for later on, but I'll bring it on now. You've been really smart with how you've pushed content on social media about it. Like you've done the songs as individual songs. Like the content has been like, first of all, this might just be a Canada thing, but the scenery, the outdoorsiness, wow, stunning, beautiful. Like you're like in your back garden and look, I'm like, this is insane. Like, what is she gone to like the forest or something? Like your content looks amazing. I think you've also been really smart with pushing individual songs, telling the stories about each song, doing covers, like telling people to use the sounds and different things like that for the songs individually. So even when you do want to push it as a project, you can fall back on the fact that people know the individual songs, So don't be so hard on yourself. I think it's such a good project. And I have a couple songs that I wanted to pull out to quickly chat through. We are definitely running out of time, but we'll get through all of these. We will. And I also think it's quite interesting that it's a self-named project and you had so many mixed feelings about it, because it's not even like you could like call it a separate name and be like, oh, it's so annoying that album is just like doing loads of whatever. It's like, this is Elenee.
That is so funny that you say it like that. Yes, absolutely. Elenee is not doing well. Elenee drives me crazy. Oh my gosh. Elenee was a labor of hate.
You're like, actually, no, because that's me. Right? No, there's definitely a reason that you had to go with it being your name. I think it works out. But no, we'll jump into some of the songs now, because I have some questions I need you to answer. Okay, so starting with the first song on the album, No Place Here. I really love the guitars, especially how the guitars introduced the song. I think that was a really bold, nice way to start the album. I'd love for you to talk about putting that song together.
That was all Bailey Hager. So she is incredible. You're nodding your head like you know who she is. She's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen her name. I just don't know why.
She's amazing. She's like, you guys, she is an incredible artist and producer. So and writer. She was like the first, if not maybe still the only like female producer signed to Capitol CMG. So like she's doing it. So her and I met like just shortly after she signed, actually. On like Zoom, and we came up with I had brought the chorus, I think, and again, like I had posted it on Instagram and TikTok, I think, and it had done really well, like me just sitting at my piano and singing the chorus, and she like brought that song to life, like immediately had such great ideas for the verses and the bridge. And so we kind of came up with the whole song. And then like within a week, she had come up with this production for it. And I was like floored, because when I think of like a demo, I'm kind of the type of person that's like, let's start with like a piano vocal and then we could build around it. And so I just assumed like, send me whatever you need and I could throw a vocal on it or whatever. No. She sent me like the song almost like as it sounds now. And I was like, sis, what? Like you just did that. So anyways, she's like responsible for how amazing that turned out. Really through and through. I love the message of it. I love how it's like very sassy. It just adds this element of just like, like, no, you don't get to have dominion over my life. You don't get to have a place up here or down here. Like I'm taking captive all these thoughts. You are getting out of here. No place here. Like, it's just very like, and I love how that turned out. It was like, for me, it was the perfect way to start the album. Like it was just a bookend of sassiness and attitude.
The bookend of sassiness.
Yeah.
That's a quote. Get that on a t-shirt. I love it. No, that's really good. And I feel like I hear that kind of spirit and in the song. So yeah. And I also love hearing about female producers, because that's one of the questions I have. You keep jumping into my questions, but that was one of the questions I had. I'll just go on to it now. But you are a producer as well, and I saw you like posting content about just like encouraging fellow producers. And like you said, we don't know many female producers. Like we actually do speak to a lot of female producers within the SheHH kind of community, but it's still kind of a really small group. Production seems to be something that a lot of women aren't doing, and they're paying, someone for, or they're like kind of clueless around. And I know you kind of post content around learning production yourself. I'd love for you to talk a bit about that journey and how it feels a little bit different from you as an artist, as an actual music singing artist.
Well, I've always wanted to do music production like as well. And it's like something that I've organically started. I have this piano that's actually sitting out in my living room over there. But I got this piano when I was 8, and it had like, it's like a Yamaha keyboard, but it has like the ability to like record and layer. And anyways, it's been at my sister-in-law's house. And so we got it back just because my kids are in piano, and like now one can practice down here with headphones, praise God. And we were going through like all the sounds and songs in there, and there's a bunch of like my like 9-year-old self songs that I like recorded that had like drums on. They're dumb, but it just got me thinking like this has always been in me. Like it's just another way for me to heal, another way for me to like just go through life as like whatever kind of neurodivergent I am, and have this ability to like put the sounds that are up here into like music or into something tangible-ish. So I wanted to do production so bad that I even like wanted to go get an audio engineering degree over in Vancouver. And then I got accepted. I had to do like this crazy theory test and like this interview. Like I had to fly to Vancouver to do all these things. I got accepted, and then I could not find a place to live. Like that was under $3,000 a month.
$3,000? Sorry.
Yeah, it was crazy. So then I was like, okay, I guess I'll do law. Like that was like my backup thing. It was like either law or whatever. So I went and got a job at a law firm for my gap year so that I could start like on a a business degree. And then I was just going to go do like law program and entertainment law so that I could, have my hands still in like the creative community. Anyways, none of that happened. I did go to college for business, but then I was like, my parents or my family's restaurant, and like, I'll start my own businesses and I'll do music. So here I am. But also I say all that to say, I've been teaching myself production for a while. Like it's been a few years, but I really got into it like hardcore about a year ago, when I was just like, I'm going to post like sad pop covers on Instagram and TikTok, and just like, it's like my first kind of initial stab at trying production. And it required me to not think about the song. The song was already written. And so I would just make the track around the song and like record my vocals, singing someone else's music. It was so much easier that way. And those like popped off. They went viral a few times, which was super cool. And then I gained like following. Now people think that I'm like a real hardcore producer when I'm like learning every day. Like I'm never to the point where I'm just like, come to me I'll produce your album. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know. I will absolutely help you and produce like in small scale stuff, but I'm not like at the level where could just do someone's whole project. But let me also say that you said something really, really riveting in the lead up to this question. You said that the space for women producing is there, but it's small. And a lot of women are still paying people to produce their stuff. I think that it's cool that we have the opportunity now to work with producers that we want to work with and kind of figure out the sound. I think that there always should be someone else's input, whether it's a full-on producer or just a co-producer, because you just need another set of ears, I think, to make things more well-rounded. But what I have found so important in this journey for me, and I would encourage all of the listeners who are maybe too scared to pursue production because it's a big learning curve, or if you're just it's not really my thing, but you're an artist, the more you know about production, the more leverage you have and creative freedom you have in making your music. Meaning if you could just tinker around in some kind of DAW, Logic is really easy, start with GarageBand, learn a little just so that you could say you can make comments to your producer about things that you would rather have here, or some things that could be different, or this, that, and the other. It makes the process of creating with someone else so much easier. And then you're not actually blindly letting someone basically recreate your idea in your head for you. It has come in handy so much. It's also been cool because I've been able to produce and record my own vocals from home, which is wild. I never thought I'd be at that level. But it's just the more you know, the less you have to rely on someone else to make creative decisions for you that you might not like in the long run, but don't know how to say it. And women especially sometimes, but especially get taken advantage of in the system when you're a woman working with a male dominated industry of people, and B, you're also a woman that doesn't know anything about production. So you don't even know how to address this man with the issue that you find. So it's I think it's just a win-win if you could learn a little and then, go from there. I'm on a tangent again. Sis, you got to just stop me. Put your hand up. Be we're done here. Okay. Yeah, let's go.
Oh my gosh. So I grew up in church, and if someone's running long, you have someone in the back going,
oh my gosh, we need that. Let's go. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. No, that's so good. Where would you say someone who's trying to be a baby producer is starting at the beginning? Where can they start? Where
Honestly,
can they start?
YouTube University. But also I follow this girl on Instagram. She's a girl. I love that she's a female in the space. Her name is Sides, SEIDS or something like that. And she's always things you didn't know that you could do in Logic Pro, part 750. And it's just these random little things, tips that I would have never known. And so it's just random stuff. And so she has an ebook now that you can get with all these Logic Pro tips. And it's just the more information that can quickly get downloaded into your brain and then used, the more likely you are to retain it. And that's why I really love her stuff. But I mean, you could literally watch hours and hours and days and weeks of YouTube and find out everything you want. I honestly would say though, if you're going to start somewhere, start with GarageBand and or Logic, because I just find that it's the most user-friendly DAW out there. It's, you don't have to have an engineering degree to learn how to right click on something. It's just, it's easy. And it's, I don't know, it's pretty. You can color coordinate things, and it's very simple. I don't know. Yes.
No, I love that. And I'm loving that we're encouraging women to really take over this space and do what we need to do for ourselves and advocate for ourselves, essentially.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you've always had that music playing in your head, and it would be a disservice to yourself to produce something that isn't matching what's in your mind, especially if the thing in your mind was God-given, which we believe it is. So that's really encouraging. And we have definitely run out of time, so I'm going to do one more song from the album. And I kind of have to touch on this one just because it's not even the standout track from, because you have a track you have on your website. It's the single from it, but I like it. Because it's basically a diss track to the devil. It's basically just I don't know if anyone's ever called it that, but it's just so confident. Do you know what song I'm talking about? You're what song is that?
Is it I Don't Want It?
No, it's Under My Feet.
Oh, Under My Feet. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking in my head. Yes. See, I'm getting them all mixed up. Yeah, it literally is a diss track to the girl. I love that you said that. I'm like, I have to write that down.
You can
'Cause that-
take that. You can have that. You can pretend you made it up. That's completely fine. But
No.
genuinely, I'm listening to it and I'm like, but yeah, he is under my feet. Like what? Huh? Who?
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, I just think it's the confidence that it's like confident words that we as Christians need to be more like that more often. But please tell the people who haven't heard that song what that song is about, what the style is, and why you put it
Listen,
together.
I feel like you just said all that needed to be said. Like it literally is a diss track to the devil. It's very soul. Like it almost has like some neo soul in there, which is and jazzy, but in this like contemporary way. Like I love how the production turned out on it because I feel like it almost like it's almost opposing to the message. Like it's very like warm and fuzzy feeling. And if you were to just listen to the soundtrack, like you would never think that the song was about like you're stupid, you know. But yeah, it's good. The thing that's funny about that is like my kids, you know, I'm trying to be a good mom as we all are. And I'm just like, we don't say words like stupid and we don't say words like whatever. And did they not call me out on it when they're like, Mom, you said a bad word in your song? I'm thinking like, oh no, like did my like real songs get leaked? No, I'm just kidding. But like I'm freaking out. And sure enough, they're just like, when it plays, they're like, you said stupid. And I was like, oh, okay, well, good point. Yes.
In this context,
yeah,
the person we're speaking about is stupid. So
I meant every letter in that word. Yeah. So I don't know. It's fun. I also feel like because the song is so vibey, you could get away with like just listening to it like in any scenario. Like if you're in a good mood, if you're in a bad mood, if you're in like a melancholy mood, Under My Feet. It's just it brings you to this place. Lyrics aside, the lyrics though really help like propel the message of just like, listen here, you little yeah.
I need you to make content which is like, I don't know, you in a boxing ring or something and that song playing, because it's like, and then you have like a piece of paper on like the what they call the punching bag, and it's like devil, and then it's like pew pew pew, because that song is basically like a pew 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 song, you know, but against the devil.
Okay, so are you writing this down? I gotta write this down. This is
Listen,
so
I give
good.
these for free. I'm just such a giving, open, kind person. I don't even ask for royalties and percentages and stuff.
But because you don't ask, I'll give you percentages of all the money that I make. If anybody ever gives me a gift, you know, like how you can get gifts on like Meta now. If anybody gives me a gift on any of the content that you tell me about, I will PayPal you your contribution.
Thank you. PayPal works in the UK, so that sounds really good.
Perfect.
No, I love it. Okay, we definitely don't have time to go through all the songs. So what I will do is go to the last song in the album, which is Trustful, Hallowed. Yes. Wow. And a little bit of wow for that song. I think it's such a beautiful, heartfelt song. And I think you spoke about it a little bit in the earlier in today, but also your vocals are incredible in this song. Like you really showed the people that you can sing, okay? And I know that wasn't the intention, but we've listened through the whole album and we're like, oh, we love these vibes, like such a vibe. Like we get to pew 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 to the devil, we're all like, yeah, da, 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 da. And then we get to the last song and we're like actually hearing your heart and the fact that you sound incredible. Like this one seems personal, you know, this one seems really personal. So I'd love for you to share maybe the story or your heart behind this song.
Yeah, I'll make it really short and sweet. Basically, I had a dream. And the dream was, or I had a nightmare, really depending on how you see it. But I had this dream. There's a girl in like a white dress, and she didn't have a face, which is so weird. Like I don't know why that didn't freak me out. Like that was not the red flag. So it was just like a peach looking face or whatever, like a skin. And then, but yet like I could see sadness. Like she didn't even have eyes, but I could see sadness in her. And she was standing on the edge of this body of water, and she was like contemplating drowning herself. So she's like standing on the edge of this body of water and she wants to fall, but she's like hesitating. So finally she falls, and she falls forward, and this hand like comes up made out of water, and it's just like holding her. So she like is like kind of in the middle of her fall, but she can't all the way go down. So this hand made up of water, just holding her. And then I woke up. Like that was the end of the dream. And I was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. But also that felt like spiritual. So then I went and journaled it. That's kind of my thing. I get the weirdest, realist dreams. Like I'm just a dreamer, for better or worse. And so I have like a dream journal because I don't want to forget them. And then there's been times where I've like referenced them back, like be like, oh my gosh. Anyways, so I called my friend Kim, who is he's like the best. He does all my video stuff and he's just like also a creative. I was like, Kim, I have a music video idea. And he was like, spill the tea. And so I told him and he was like, amazing. Like, that's so cool and creepy. What's the song? And I was like, so I don't have the song yet, but just keep that in the back of your mind. He was like, okay. Like, but he's so used to calls like that from me that he's just like, so then I like kind of started writing something, met with a friend again on Zoom named Cherie, whose fingerprints are all over that album. Like she is like a lyrical genius. So we finished the song. It turned into what we call now Trust Fall. And when I went to record it in Florida, so my studio, like this whole album except for Listen was actually recorded in Florida. Listen, I recorded at home. Now, like going forward, I record mostly all my vocals here, which is so nice. But when I was in the studio, like in the live room, I started having like an actual panic attack. I thought that I like had asthma. Like I don't even have asthma, but I was like, am I having an asthma attack? Or is there like dust in this room that I'm allergic to? I don't even have a dust allergy. Like all of a sudden, like all these things I'm trying to figure out, like, why can't I breathe? Like, why are my airways closing? Why is everything like so hard? So I'm like crying and like not being able to breathe, like hyperventilating. And so like, if you listen to that song, like, especially when I get to the bridge, you can hear that I'm like out of breath. Like I'm literally singing, like every line took several takes and we like spliced lines and words together because I was so breathy. Like I couldn't like sing the notes well. And so Trust Fall, Radio, and Hallowed both like I had full on panic attacks while recording those takes. And so that like I was just like, what in the world? What does this mean? Again, is it like the Lord not wanting me to record this song? Or is it like the song is really important and like the enemy's trying to prevent the song from going out? Like, I don't know. So I, again, like put in the hands of God. And I was like, I don't know what this means. Like, I'm going to like record these and like leave them in limbo and whatever. Anyways, we ended up doing 2 versions because we found like, I heard a very like James Bond version of it, like a very slow, big and cinematic version. But I also wanted it to be like a song people could hear on the radio. So I was like, let's just do 2 versions. And yeah, so that's Trust Fall. We did end up recording a music video for it and it's not out yet. And when it does come out, it's going to be like earth-shatteringly emotional because we literally reenacted the dream. And it's like we rented a pool and like I'm in the pool like drowning and it's a whole thing. Like the girl, we have an actress that, well, a friend of mine who's like the actress in this case. And she's the girl in the white dress. And it's a whole thing. Like, it's so crazy and just creepy, but also like, so anyways, it's going to be really good. And yeah, that's Trust Fall. Sorry. Like,
I was not expecting that story, you know, when it's just like, oh, I heard a note and I wrote to the notes or whatever. You're like, had a dream. It was low-key really weird, but this really great song came out of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I think this song is beautiful. And it's so interesting to hear you say that the first version, like vocally, like you were really struggling, because I think by the time you get to this one, there's such a bigness in the vocal, if I can say that, but there's such a like fullness in it that I cannot ever even believe that there was a breathlessness or a choking or an anxiety that would have held you back. And it's almost like this was that release after those things happening then. So yeah, it needed to happen. You thought you were like, oh, I'm just doing a commercial decision, I'm making 2 separate, like 2 versions of the song, when actually
what you don't know. Yeah, it's weird. And like editing now is so crazy. Like literally there are words that are spliced together, like half word from this take and half a word from this take, and we just put it together. You'll never know because like technology is amazing. But like it took us so many takes to get just a good enough line of something. And that was for both of them. Like it was just like when I'm saying bring him your heavy burden, I'm like I'm like out of breath and I'm like that pain below the surface. I'm just like trying so hard to get it out. And so anyways, because I would run out of breath on like those last words, it was like, okay, now we need you to just say surface. We just need you to sing, like, and splice. And that was so cool to watch. I mean, I was like fetal position in the corner with my tea, just like trying to breathe, but I was like watching them work this magic and I'm like, wow, that's so cool.
Oh,
Again,
wow. You never would have
the more you
known.
know, the more you know.
You literally never would have known. I'm going to have to jump all the way to my last question, unless this is basically me saying you need to come back again onto the podcast so we can continue. But I'll speak to Sharon, we'll make it happen.
Okay.
But my last question for you is, so here at SheHH, we're really passionate about legacy. We speak passionately and positively and hopefully about the future always, because we really believe that God has good plans for us. I would love to hear what are some of the things you're excited about for the new year, for the years to come, for the rest of your career. Like, what are some of your exciting things to come?
Well, I kind of alluded to it already. I have 5, possibly 6 songs like in production right now, and they are, oh my goodness, you guys. Like, they're so good. They're so good. I can't. Like, I wish I could just be like, listen to this, let me look.
Leak the song.
Yeah, well, like if I will.
I'm joking. Don't leak the
They're
song.
so good. So the songs are just like encouraging and just so uplifting and fun. And like, there's this one song I'll just like, it's called Skeletons. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, people are going to freak out when they see the title and probably even hear the song, because it's just like so different. But it talks about how like I am a big feeler and I call myself an empath, but I feel like some people associate that with like witchcraft. Apparently, I've learned that on Instagram. Thank you, people. I posted about being an empath and people were like, that's witchcraft. I was like, okay. But you know what I say? Like, I'm like a big feeler. I have the ability to just like discern and anyways. And sometimes it weighs really heavy on me, and depending on what the situation is and who the people are and all the things. So there's been moments where like people dump on me, and because I'm a feeler, I get really heavy, and like I see the skeletons in people's closets everywhere. So it's literally about seeing skeletons everywhere. And it's so good that like it's like I've never heard a song like that before. I've never heard that topic even really discussed in like a Christian space. Because it's like, why is that getting associated with witchcraft? Somebody who like, that's the nuance of it. It's like skeletons are associated with like Halloween and associated with no, but literally like it's the fact that I just have discernment and I'm a safe space for people, but it also weighs heavy on me sometimes. Like that's just real life. So anyways, there's that song. Like there's so many other ones like, oh, they're so good. I cannot wait, you guys. I'm freaking out. I have a whole plan. Like I have the whole 2025 planned out, and you're hearing it here first. Like literally, this is the first time I've ever said this like out loud. Yes, exclusive on the SheHH podcast. There are some sad pop covers that went viral on my Instagram, as I had mentioned before. No, hold on, let me say this right. I will be releasing them. They will be being released. What am I trying to say? I will be releasing them throughout the year. So like with the songs that I'm putting out, I'll also be releasing a sad pop cover like every 2 to 4 weeks. So it's going to be like a crazy year. I'm so excited. Yes, I'm so pumped. It's going to be great. And so I'm just excited because it'll be like my first time like really putting out music that I've produced like fully. And I'm just like, so I'm freaking out, but also you guys, it's going to be so fun. So yeah.
That is so exciting. And we'll definitely be tuned in, keeping our eyes peeled. And I feel like once you've done a year of like your music, of your music that's produced by you, you could just pop a little message out like, hey, I'm taking bookings.
Oh yeah.
I could produce your album for you.
Do I have time though? I don't know, but I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to just try,
Maybe choose sleep and your family and your own music first, and then we can look at. No, that's amazing. I'm so excited for your 2025, and we'll definitely be tuned in. Thank you again for being on the SheHH podcast. This has been a literal dream. Like, it's been
Oh,
incredible.
same.
I really didn't know what to expect. I had a list of questions, but the tangents were just the creme de la creme of this interview. Like, I think we couldn't have
Oh.
planned it better.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the SheHH podcast. If you did, please leave a like rating, comment down below, and share this episode with a friend. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SheHH Podcast.